Hello, everyone. My name is Selin Üstüner. I have several roles. I'm the board member at EMCC Turkey, European Mentoring and Coaching Council. Also the lead for Mentoring and Accreditation Work Group. Also a business partner at Evolve Leadership and Coaching. So my life actually revolves around leadership development, mentoring and coaching. And today I'm excited and happy to be here to share this mentoring refreshment with you. I'm going to start with the presentation. I try to keep it brief, but feel free to interrupt me, just cut me and ask questions whenever you like. Just don't wait till the end. I think it'll be better to be more interactive. So today we're going to talk about what mentoring is. I'm sure you all know what mentoring is in a broader sense, but just as a reminder, who is a mentor and who is not a mentor? It's also important to underline that. Who is a mentee? What is coaching and what are the similarities and differences between coaching and mentoring? A very important aspect of the entire process, ethics and confidentiality in these processes. What are the responsibilities of a good mentor? What are the responsibilities of a good mentee? The defined competencies of mentoring profession, let's say, by EMCC. And the mentoring skills, deep listening, asking powerful questions, reflection, acknowledgement, feedback, and the concept of clean talk. I'm going to talk about that in detail. So what is mentoring? Mentoring is basically experience sharing, role modeling, giving guidance and developmental support by a mentor who is more experienced and has expertise on a given area, on a particular area. It is a learning partnership based on knowledge, experience, and skill set. And it's a leadership model, and it's becoming more and more important nowadays. The mentoring approach has a huge impact on improving employees and supporting them throughout their journey in the corporate life. So it's getting more and more used. In a mentoring relationship, ideally, roles and responsibilities of mentor and mentee are well defined. It's a collaborative relationship. There's joint effort. It's two-way, not one-sided relationship, let's say. It is based on trust. It should be a safe space for each party, and trust is the foundation in this relationship. It is development oriented. The development of the mentee is the main focus here. It is confidential. It has to be confidential. I'm going to give more details about that soon. It is person oriented. The orientation is the mentee herself as a person, not as a task, not a problem to be solved, or you mentor and mentee come together, try to solve a problem together. It's about person and her development. And when it's held in an organizational context, it's apart from the organizational hierarchy. It's something entirely different. It's a different kind of relationship, let's say. Here's a nice definition that we love at EMCC and at Evolve. It's from David Clutterbuck. David Clutterbuck is a very important and respected scholar in mentoring field. And he says that it's about wisdom. Mentoring is all about wisdom, and mentor bringing her wisdom in order to help the mentee find what's in herself, because we believe in coaching and mentoring, everyone has their own wisdom. So a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance and inspiration will help us to find our own wisdom, and mentoring is a great way to achieve that. So that's a nice definition, my favorite. What mentoring is not is important to, let's say, underline. It's not a therapy, it's not diagnosis, it's not curing, it's not giving all the answers on mentee's behalf. It's not mentor imposing his or her own ideas, dictating her own truths to her mentee. It's not a relationship with hidden agendas. It's very clear. It's very open. It should be. It should be transparent. And the only agenda is mentee's agenda, and it's her development objectives. And it's not a one-sided relationship. It's a joint effort. And actually, both parties are getting something out of this relationship. Mentor is also evolving, also learning, also gaining awareness on herself throughout this journey. A mentor is not the mentee's parent, is not her career sponsor, is not her therapist, as we said, not the problem solver. And again, in the organizational context, a mentor is not the superior or the boss of the mentee. Who is the mentee? We're talking about mentors and mentees. Mentee is the person who wants to increase her awareness and achieve self-development, learn something new, some skill set maybe, and who is ready to plan the necessary action steps for her career development, and again, ready to work on these actions in order to realize them instead of just planning. And all of these are actually achievable through the mentoring process. As a mentor, we have situational roles, but basically you can think this as a spectrum. Like on one end, mentor is a facilitator who holds the space and the process for the mentee. And on the other hand, she is a role model. So as a role model, brings on her personal and professional knowledge, experience, expertise, and guides and inspires the mentee. And in between, in this spectrum, there are various roles. So a mentor can be a sounding board. I love the sounding board term. Helps the mentee think through their own ideas out loud by holding the space in silence. Being silent, being able to preserve the silence is very important, because we tend to just fill the gaps, fill the silence with just, to me, again, unnecessary comments, questions. It's our own uncomfortness, maybe. Just being able to sit in that silence and enable the mentee to think their ideas through is important. A mentor can be a counselor and share her expert opinion, professional knowledge, expertise, and give advices when needed. When needed part is very important, because it's not about advising or being as a consultant and giving all the answers and solving the problems on mentee's behalf. But when needed, when mentee is stuck and cannot find another way, cannot see any other perspective, it's only right to share your experience and give a small advice. Mentor can be a coach, and by asking powerful questions and using reflection and other skill set, help the mentee to find her own answers and gain new perspectives. She can be a storyteller, and when relevant to the mentee's experience, she can share her own story and her own experience again to inspire the mentee. A mentor can be and should be, as expected to be, a critical friend who challenges the mentee's ideas, but not for the sake of challenging only, to raise awareness and to help mentee to gain a new perspective on any given issue. Mentor can be a network coach who discusses and most of the time teaches the mentee how to build, develop, and maintain a professional network. And a motivator, let's say just as a friend who supports and encourages mentee to build confidence, build self-belief, and remember her strengths and achievements in a way. So are there any questions so far? Am I going too fast? Too boring? Okay. Continue. So mentoring and coaching, very overlapping concepts. They have, okay. So mentoring, we said, is experience sharing, role modeling, giving guidance. It's about development support given by mentor. It's about expertise. Coaching is quite similar. It's about supporting one person's development journey, being the journey partner there through reflection and asking questions and supporting and holding a space. There's one distinct aspect of mentoring, which is different from coaching. It's the experience and expertise. They are basically using the same skill set, mentors and coaches. They're listening deeply and actively, asking powerful questions, use reflection, acknowledgement, feedback. The skill sets are the same. So therefore, a mentor has to be a coach first, but mentor is one step ahead because of her experience. The coaching skill set, the mentoring skill set is there, and plus one, the experience that the mentor has is what makes her a mentor. So a coach doesn't have to be experienced. She doesn't have to know anything about the topic that the coachee brings, but a mentor has to know and has to be experienced in the area she is giving the mentoring. I hope that's clear. Very important aspect of mentoring processes is ethics and confidentiality. In your mentoring guides, you can find the links to European Mentoring and Coaching Council's Global Code of Ethics in both English and Turkish. It's very well defined. It's easy to read, but detailed enough. So according to that, the scope of mentoring should be limited to what the mentor knows. She shouldn't mentor or try to give mentoring about something that she doesn't know, she doesn't have any experience in. So your scope is limited to your experience. Confidentiality of mentoring relationship should be respected by both parties. So everything you speak, everything you talk about, everything about you, your mentee or you as a mentor should be kept private and should not be shared with third parties. And respecting personal boundaries, values and perspectives is critical. So in ethics and confidentiality, we're talking about foundational principles in mentoring relationship. Openness and clarity at the very beginning of the relationship is important. So clarifying every aspect regarding your relationship in your first meeting is important. And you can use a mentoring agreement template, which you can find in your mentoring guide as well. Clarifying these, what do I mean by relationship design? You can clarify the objectives of the mentoring process. You can share your preferences on communication channels. You can say that don't call me on weekends. Every single detail can be talked about and clarified, and this would help you to pursue the mentoring process very effectively and efficiently in the 6 months period. Avoiding conflict of interest is another issue. This is also very in a very detailed way defined in the Global Code of Ethics. Conflict of interest, what do I mean by that? For example, mentee can ask for a favor, or mentor can ask for a small favor, and which shouldn't be happening. It can be as small as that, and it can be as severe as you can imagine. And there are limited, but they happen, so they had to write this code of ethics. It can be harassment, some other issues. So avoiding this conflict of interest is important. And if this happens, anything can happen, life happens, both mentors and mentees have the right to terminate the mentoring relationship. remember that you have the right. And in the mentoring guide, there are this relevant information regarding these issues. Being aware of your own biases and prejudices is very important because it affects our objectivity, both being as a mentor and mentee. So being aware of that and try to set these aside is important. Integrity and professionalism, obviously. This is a professional relationship, and maintaining integrity and professionalism is important as a key principle. So as mentors, we are expected to be committed to the relationship, the mentoring relationship, and create the time that is necessary. We said that it's a joint effort, it's a collaborative effort in the relationship. So mentors have the 50% responsibility of creating a safe space for open communication and trust, and creating that confidential relationship, let's say. Using mentoring skills, listening deeply and actively, asking powerful questions, giving feedback in a constructive and respectful way. This is very important. And not only giving feedback, but also being ready to get feedback, receive feedback from the mentee. That's also important and can be new sometimes for some mentors. Respecting mentee's agenda is critical, because it's about mentee's development, it's mentee's agenda, it's mentee's process, development process. So you have to, as a mentor, respect and go along with mentee's agenda. Knowing your area of responsibility, knowing your limits as mentor is important. Your responsibility is just holding the space and giving guidance and supporting mentee to find her own solutions, her own answers, and achieve her own objectives. But leaving the self-development responsibility to mentee is the key here. It's not your responsibility. Like we said, giving guiding for development, sharing your experience and sharing your expertise and offering perspective. Respecting personal boundaries, values, and beliefs, as we mentioned, is critical. A mentor should be supportive, encouraging, because this is a critical and invaluable journey for mentee, and mentee is right before you, very transparent and sometimes vulnerable, because she's struggling with something and trying to find a way. And so it's important to be supportive and encouraging and empathetic, because we all have been through the same or similar challenges. We were once there. We were once that age. So remembering that and trying to be more supportive and in a softer manner, let's say, it's important. And of course, professionalism. I'm going to keep saying that, professionalism. It's important. What a mentor should not do. Well, I like because, well, like we said, it's not mentor's responsibility, and it's not mentor is not the one to take credit for mentor's performance. It's about the mentee. Mentor is there to guide. Mentor cannot guarantee results, and mentee shouldn't expect that. Act as a career sponsor. This is tricky because as mentors, we tend to do that. We want to help. We want to make things easier for our mentee. We want to introduce the mentee to people, like create network, just make things easier for the mentee. But just when you catch yourself so enthusiastic about doing that, just hold yourself a bit, because it's something else. It's you being the career sponsor for the mentee, and you shouldn't be doing that. So we talk about that. Confidentiality, again, it's very important. A mentor should not share any personal information regarding the mentee or anything regarding the content that they they were talking about in the mentoring sessions to third parties, even with TurkishWIN, and anything that you want to share. Maybe you have a good experience, you have a very exciting experience, a story to share. Again, you have to ask for your mentee's permission. Even if it's a testimonial, your mentee should be aware of that and give permission to you. And it's the same applies to your mentee. She has to ask for your permission and inform you beforehand if she wants to share anything regarding your relationship. So a mentor shouldn't give the feedback or make comments on anything on mentee in a condescending way or a superior tone. Being respectful is important here. Behaving in a manner that could create conflict, like being aggressive or defensive when you receive a feedback, it should be avoided. It's toxic for the relationship. Like mentors, you are very busy people and you have a busy agenda and you're dealing with many things at the same time. But it's important to respect the mentoring relationships and mentoring session and try not to take any personal or business calls during these mentoring sessions and interrupt the meeting. Of course, in cases of emergency, it can happen, but try not to do that. And just be available, be in the reach for the mentee, reply to emails, return the calls, and don't keep the mentee waiting. So what about mentee's relationship responsibilities? Again, being committed to the relationship and creating the necessary time. It's a joint effort, we said. Mentee has the 50% responsibility. And mentee also has the responsibility to do the follow-ups, make the organization, setting the date, meeting dates, etc. These responsibilities are mentees. Mentees should be eager to change and develop herself and getting out of the comfort zone. The mentoring process is all about development and getting out of the comfort zone. So she should be ready and eager to do that. And taking the responsibility for her own progress is important. Setting SMART goals is the key. It is very clearly defined again in the mentoring guide. A mentee should come up with her own development objectives or goals and make it SMART, but you as a mentor can help her to make her goals smarter. She can bring a broader objective, let's say. So you can ask questions and use reflection and maybe some guidance or give feedback to make these goals smarter, more specific, more measurable, more achievable, realistic maybe. And it should be time bounded. A time period should be defined for each goal for it to be smart and more achievable. A mentee should obviously be willing to receive and give feedback. They are most of the time very happy to receive feedback, but they can be sometimes be uncomfortable with giving feedback to the mentor due to respect concerns or any other concerns. So it's also helpful for mentor to articulate that I'm ready to receive feedback from you. Better to do that in the first meeting when you're designing your relationship. It could be helpful. Mentee should be prepared for the mentoring sessions, should bring an agenda, a topic, a subject to work on. Again, like we said, there's this 50% responsibility. Mentee is also responsible for creating the safe, trust-based, open communication environment like mentor. Owning the need. A mentor cannot read the mentee's mind. So as a mentee, you have to first be aware of your needs, what you need, and then own the need and open this need communicate this need openly to the mentor, because the mentor cannot read your mind and just know what you need. You have the responsibility to own your need and say things out loud. Again, professionalism. This is a professional relationship. Okay. Yes, professionalism, we said. A mentee, what a mentee shouldn't do. Mentee should not expect personal or emotional intimacy from the mentor. It's a strictly professional relationship. This doesn't mean that it should be like cold, distance, and superficial, but there's this limit, and we know the limits. We are complex, very evolved creatures, and we can feel the limits. And a mentee shouldn't expect a mentor to give all the answers and solve the problems on her behalf. Again, she should avoid to behave in a manner that could create conflict. She shouldn't get defensive when receiving feedback or aggressive from a comment, maybe. And her own performance, mentee's own performance, achievements, results, they're all her responsibility, and she cannot hold mentor accountable for these results. They can be either positive or negative. That's mentee's responsibility. And again, confidentiality. She cannot share, like we mentioned, anything regarding the mentoring relationship or something about mentor. If she wants to, she has to ask for permission. She has to inform the mentee. And once she gets the permission, she can share again with the limited amount. Being prepared is the key. A mentee has to be prepared. Mentee has to have an agenda, an objective for each session, and she should be prepared. So European Mentoring and Coaching Council defines 8 competencies for mentoring, but these are the same competencies for coaching and supervision as well. So the first one is understanding self, because so this is the thing. Every relationship that we have with the outer world and the other people is a reflection of the relationship that we have with ourselves. If we understand each other, we can only understand the person as we understand our own self. Am I making sense in English? I'm not sure, but it's important to know ourselves first, because that will affect directly how we understand the person sitting next to us and trying to just tell us something. So understanding self is the key. A mentor should be willing to and better be working with herself through different methods. Commitment to self-development is similar to, in some aspects, understanding self, but self-development, we mean like being ready to learn new things, try new things, experience new things, and always evolve, not just stay in the comfort zone and just do the same things over and over again. Managing the contract means managing the relationship with both mentee and any parties who are relevant in the process. So in your experience as TurkishWIN mentors, you are expected to manage your contract, but by contract, I don't mean the mentoring contract. You mean the design of the relationship, the principles, the framework of the relationship. You're expected to manage that with your mentee, but also with TurkishWIN. TurkishWIN is the sponsor of this program, and you have a relationship to manage with that with TurkishWIN as well. So this is a skill. Building the relationship is simply about creating this safe space, the relationship based on open communication, trust, transparency, and this is only possible with you being transparent yourself and being the role model for mentee to do that. It's always to do that first and inspire the other one to do the same. And as a mentor, I think you're in the more advantageous position to do that. Enabling insight and learning is the key, obviously. The mentoring process is about learning and development for a mentee. So using mentoring skills like listening, questions, using reflection, giving feedback, maybe using some other tools, and thereby enabling learning and gaining new perspectives is the key. Outcome and action orientation. An awareness without action and without a concrete action is doomed to fade away. It's not going to stand. It's not going to be permanent. And awareness is always not required, but it should be linked to an action. The action shouldn't be gigantic. It shouldn't be radical. It can be something really small, but being ready to take that step is a big thing itself. So you can ask your mentee at the end of each session, after she gains awareness about something, she realizes something, you can ask, what are you going to do with your awareness? What would be the one thing, one small thing that you could try, or what you could do differently with that awareness? And the question that I like to ask is like, what would be the baby step for you to try next? It shouldn't be something big. It can be something small, but there has to be an action. So this is an important competency. Use of models and techniques. Mentoring skills like questions, listening, feedback, reflection, these all work and work well, but up until to a point. After that, some models and tools better be in your toolbox to help you to raise your mentee's awareness and just help her to gain a new perspective, because sometimes she can be stuck and she wouldn't be able to see any other way. And just getting her out of that stuckness and help her to use her right brain, right side of her brain in a way, that could be helpful. And by models and techniques, I mean like SWOT analysis. SWOT is an exercise that you can use. Or we have a wheel of life pie chart in coaching, like different aspects of our life and the balance in between. It can be something like that. You can use visualization, like just make the mentee dream about the ideal situation, the ideal scenario. You can give her like writing exercises, anything other than just asking questions and giving feedback is a model or technique, and it is very helpful to use them. And last but not least, evaluation. It's important to evaluate the progress and evaluate the effectiveness of the process, but it's also important to evaluate yourself as a mentor. So at the end of each session, we recommend you to do this small evaluation, like, how do you feel? You came like this, you're living like that. What's the difference? How do you feel? What's different? What happened for you? And at the end of the process, at the end of 6 months, like Simla said, you're going to be filling out surveys in which you're evaluating the process and the mentee. But again, with your mentee, just create the time, take the time to do this evaluation. And how was this process for you? What's different? What worked? What didn't work? It's also important to talk about what didn't work. It's a learning for both parties. And it's important to evaluate yourself. You can do that with your mentee, or you can do this just by yourself. Like, how was I as a mentor? How supportive was I? How open was I? Like that. Just self-evaluation is also a critical aspect. And mentoring skills. So deep listening is a fancy word, but I think it's the most important skill in mentoring, also in coaching and supervision, because any following skills are deriving from deep listening. By deep listening, we mean 3 different levels. When we listen, we can listen to a person in 3 different levels. At first level, we're listening to the person, but while listening and hearing the content, hearing the words, and I'm understanding the words, I'm listening, but I'm also listening to a voice inside my head. There's a voice inside my head just saying something, just stimulated by the content that I'm listening to. For example, maybe the person that I'm listening to is talking about a vacation plan, and I'm listening to a person, I'm getting it, I'm understanding it, but at the same time, I'm thinking about, am I going to be able to go on a vacation? It's pandemic. I really want to go on vacation. Something like that. I'm listening to that voice as well. Or maybe I'm listening to a person, but at the same time, I'm looking at her hair like, oh, I like her hair color, or I like her dress, but those kind of dresses wouldn't look good on me. These kind of things. It all happens to us. Like, we all experience this as we're humans. It's natural. But if we stay too long in the first level, if we don't realize that we're in this level, we have the risk of missing something or misinterpret what the person is saying. So being aware of it and being aware of our own chatterbox in our head is important. The second level is the level we listen to the person as if we are a tape recorder. Like, we try to catch every single word that is coming out of the person's mouth. We're trying to catch everything. We generally use this as an exercise to improve the listening skill sets. On the second level, our entire attention is on the person. In mentoring sessions, mentors are usually in this level, let's say. In the third level, this is the ideal level, and expect our mentors, and in life, in any relationship, being in the third level would be very valuable and huge impact. At third level, we hear what's being unsaid. We hear between the lines, beyond what's being said, beyond the words. We hear the values of the person. We hear what's important for the person, what's meaningful in life. We hear about the emotions. We read the body language, and we can hear anything that is unsaid. Because when we talk about something, we can talk about anything, but beyond what we're saying on the surface, beyond that, we're actually telling something about ourselves. An educated ear can hear that, can hear beyond the words. So it's very important to hear beyond the words when you're a mentor. And it is doable. It's not impossible. It takes practice. And trying to be in the second level, just try to catch everything the person is trying to tell you, is the only thing you should do. When you're in the second level, you almost automatically enter the third level. So it's like that with listening, and through deep listening comes powerful questions. Powerful questions are important for a mentor to help mentee to gain perspective, just gain awareness. By powerful questions, I mean open-ended questions instead of yes-no questions. Of course, you can use yes-no questions, but open-ended questions are more powerful and have more impact. And non-judgmental questions. There are some questions that are disguised as questions, but actually they are not questions. They are just manipulative statements. So when you catch yourself on the verge of that, just hold yourself and just say that. Don't pretend to ask a question. We like the term child's curiosity, and be as curious, try to be as curious as a child when you're asking questions, because when a child asks you a question, you wouldn't feel bothered, like you wouldn't get defensive. You know that child's intentions are good and she is just curious. So being curious as a child when you're doing mentoring and when you're asking questions are important. Reflection is also a very important tool. Reflection, we mean reflecting what we hear. We can either reflect the content, what we hear, like I hear that this could be a milestone in your life. We reflect by summarizing it. But also we can reflect the emotion. I hear that you're stuck and you feel upset about it. You feel disappointed. I hear that you feel disappointed. But there's one important thing in reflection: always validate. Always ask for confirmation, because when we reflect something, it's coming from us. Therefore, it's subjective. No reflection can be 100% objective. Therefore, asking for validation, like, I hear this, is that correct? Is that so? I hear this, how does it sound to you? Always ask for confirmation. Clean talk and avoiding communication toxins are important. By clean talk, I highly recommend the nonviolent communication methodology, and the book is, I think, in your learning center. You can reach there. And just, clean talk is basically just following the steps of nonviolent communication, just using data, sharing your emotions, sharing your reasoning behind it, and just asking for what you want, just as a simple sentence. Avoiding communication toxins. There are 4 communication toxins. One is blaming. It's obvious that it's toxic. Maybe not that obvious one is defensiveness. It is very toxic, because I think many of you must have the experience in any context. One person gets defensive out of nowhere. Nobody's blaming the person, but he or she gets defensive, and it's toxic. It creates a toxic environment. So defensiveness is a toxin. Contempt is a toxin that should be avoided. Humiliation, jokes, even the body language, like one person enters the room and you just roll your eyes and take a deep breath or something like that. You just make it obvious that you resent that person, you don't like the person, and you just do that with your body. And that's contempt, and it's toxic, and it has a proven health effect, damage on that person's health. It's proven scientifically. If you want to find out more, you can just read John Gottman's studies. And the last one is stonewalling, just building walls, invisible walls, let's say, around you, and just cutting off the communication, just cutting off the relationship. It's toxic. Acknowledgement means it's something different than praise. In Turkish, takdir. Acknowledgement means we see something in the person, something good in the person, and we articulate that. We say that, I see this in you. You are a very meticulous person. You have this strength. You have this, you have that. These positive things we see in the person, we say that. We acknowledge that. It is very important for mentees' progress and self-confidence, and giving feedback and being constructive and respectful whilst doing that. Don't use the sandwich method, please. This is old and people are immune to the sandwich method. The first positive thing you said is just goes away because they're expecting the second negative thing. And the third positive thing is just it doesn't work, in my opinion. You can, one method that I liked and we liked at EMCC is like, when you're at your best, I see this and that in you. What I like to see more in you is this and this. So this is a very constructive and positive and supportive way of giving feedback in mentoring processes and in your everyday life, in your work life, in your every relationship, basically. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Selin, for your great presentation. It was very nice and refreshing for us. We are waiting for your testimonials in the mentoring journey for new stories.